somewhere along the way, you lost sight of what your purpose in this world was supposed to be. You got thoughts put into your head from other people about what you were supposed to be. And you went down that path. And as you went down that path further and further, you realized that this thing that you thought you wanted, that they told you to want, you actually don't want. And you realize that this is in fact not your purpose. This is in fact not your purpose. And this is a situation that I was in. This is a situation that most people are in. But you got to realize that as you move further and further away from your purpose, you start to feel more and more sick, emotionally, physically. And this is what happened to me. You know, I went completely a different direction than where I was supposed to. I was supposed to be helping other people. Here I'm in sales, you know, making money, you know, off other people. And the more I went in that direction, the more I felt unwell, the more I felt sick, the more things went in the wrong direction, you know. The more I went towards the path of helping other people, the more I healed, you know. So it's like if you have something you actually are supposed to do in your life and you're not doing it, specifically helping other people, and you're doing something else instead, then it's not going to feel right. And eventually it's going to compound over time, and you're going to try to make up for it by buying nice cars and, you know, having nice things and dating a bunch of people or whatever your thing is, you know what I mean? But the reality is, like, you'll be trying to make up for it with external things because you actually haven't found your purpose and what you're supposed to do in this earth, where you're supposed to, you know, where you fit in, where you can give back to the earth and actually make a difference. Everybody's supposed to give back in some way, right? But not everybody really cares about that. Most people actually just care mostly about just getting more material goods and getting more approval from others and getting accepted and having more power and, you know, having more women, whatever it is, you know what I mean? But the reality is none of those things really matter in the end. You can't bring those with you in the afterlife. You're not going to be looking at, you know, being on your deathbed at the end, looking back on how many cars you had or, you know, how many women you're with or anything like that. That's just, you know, ridiculous. What you're going to be looking back on is what you accomplished in your life. What was the point of your life? Why did you actually even come to this reality? You're going to realize at that moment, wow, I was a spirit the whole time who was supposed to accomplish something. I was actually supposed to accomplish something on this earth. And my spiritual form was trying to get through to me, and I kept rejecting it in my human form. And that's why I felt ill. That's why I felt unwell. That's why I was unable to really ever feel connected. And I had those moments of feeling really, really connected, but they would never last because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. I wasn't fulfilling my role that God had sent down for me. I believe 100% that you have a spiritual duty. You know, there's a certain thing you're supposed to accomplish in your spiritual form, and that's why you're sent here, to be able to accomplish it and to make the world a better place, to turn the darkness into light. And, you know, in your situation, if you come into this in your spiritual form and you go into a human body that's rejecting this, of course, that there's going to be some disconnect there, and it's going to turn into some type of illness, because the illness is going to hopefully try to get you to realize that what you're doing is wrong, so you could follow your actual purpose. That's the point of these illnesses. That's the point of all this suffering that people go through, is that they're not following their purpose, they're not following their true calling in their life, and they're rejecting it, and they're going a different direction, valuing things that they were taught to value. And at the end of the day, this circles back and it hits them in the face later in life, and they wonder why they're not happy, because they weren't doing what they were meant to do. They weren't doing what they're actually called to do. They were making decisions based out of fear, based out of protecting themselves from, you know, financial duress, from, you know, from the judgment of others, things like that. So go to my website, endsickness.org. I got hundreds of articles, hundreds of videos there teaching you how to heal yourself. Take care.